Hello, Steve White, TrekBoy89 for Steve Arts 89. Yeah, there was an article on TrekMovie.com about the ratings for Star Trek Strange New Worlds because they never got back in the charts for season 3. Apparently they were in the charts, in the Nelson charts, for the first 4 weeks, but they dropped out in the 5th week and never came back. And I think that's pretty telling. I think that shows there was an interest in Star Trek. People missed Star Trek. They wanted to come back. They came back. They wanted to know what happened last season and watch the show. And after a couple of weeks, everyone tapped out because they just missed the mark so bad with a few episodes. And I am finding, like, people saying it's a mixed bag, and it really does seem like someone has a voice in this show that has the wrong idea and keeps taking them in the wrong direction. I don't know why they keep listening to this person. I'm sure it's like one person. I'm guessing it's Kurtzman or maybe one of the head writers. Someone is just really off and they keep getting their way and taking the episodes in the wrong order, the wrong direction. And we end up with just ones that just do not work. And it's just a mess because some of these things come really close to working. And I think I said this before, but I really want to point this out, that the 4.5 Vulcans doesn't work because scientifically it's just impossible to do what they did, and they took ridiculous liberties like having the Vulcans physically change their appearance as soon as they're injected, when that physically couldn't have happened. Like, there was no time or no way to change their hair and all these things that happened. And there's just no way to believe even alien science could make these characters suddenly have all the training experience and cultural bias that a Vulcan would have against Spock from an injection and physically changing their bodies. But had they had Trelane done that, it would have been fine. Because we had Trelane in the second episode, which was totally frivolous, where they're just having him make Spock and Christine Chapel be in love and get married just for no reason. He just saw Spock and thought, oh, he looks sad. How about I just, make him back with this person and have a wedding and everything? And it was totally frivolous. And there was a couple of scenes that were fun, but that was it. It was just really like, why does this episode exist? And it's I think it was the second episode, and it really was like, this is what you're leading with for the series. It's the first like real episode. It was just didn't work. But then, if you had Trelane, okay, do that for a minute and be like, have a couple of scenes where he's making, giving Spock his wish, but it doesn't really work for Spock. Because a couple of scenes in that episode worked. You could have had them just a couple of scenes in one episode, and then you could have, maybe to make people have a better understanding of Spock, who he obviously thinks they're not nice enough to, he could have just snapped his fingers, turned them into Vulcans with no scientific rationale needed. They could have all the bias, all the issues of Vulcans, and they could have played out the scenes, because that episode had some good scenes, but it wore pretty thin. You could have had all the good scenes in that, and it could have been a great episode where Trelane just comes in and makes up all these situations, and we have these funny scenes without having to play out a whole episode with that scenario, or try and explain it scientifically when you just can't. So it was such a great, if you're going to use Trelane, he's a great way to have some ridiculous situations happen and be totally plausible because of his magic abilities, basically. And they didn't do that. And I'm like, how did they miss that? Like, I'm watching the series, I'm like, why, how did someone get this so wrong? And that's what you sort of see. You see episodes that totally work or totally don't. And they do things that just miss the mark. Like, for example, last season with the crossover episode with the animated series. That could have been great if you just had the live action actors appear in Strange New Worlds and the animated versions in Lower Decks of Strange New Worlds cast would have been great. Instead, they have a hybrid episode where you actually see the animated episode Lower Decks first, and then they go into the live action universe, world, or whatever, and then you have them go back, but then you see the Strange New Worlds cast are animated now as well. It's like, what? It doesn't even make sense. If there's an animated universe, why are they now in it? It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't work. Had they just had, the other cast appear in the other shows, would have been great. The banter between the characters, the scenarios were all great, but the setup, someone thought this was good, and it's like the same thinking that was like, oh, we need to show people that, it's not just all hanging out at the school and it's not all land-based. We have to show them that they go on adventures in space, so we'll make a big deal about having the actual campus turn into a starship and fly into space every episode. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing ever. No person would think that, and no person would think that they wouldn't just beam up to a starship and have training missions. But that's what they did. Someone thought that would work, and it seems to be the same. I swear to God, it's the same person, whether it's one of the head writers that Kurtzman's listening to or deferring to because he doesn't know Star Trek, or it's Kurtzman who doesn't know Star Trek overriding everyone going, no, this is a great idea, let's do this, and no one can tell him no because he's the boss. I just had to comment on it. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the whole situation and all of that.